Cueing like a Block Fitness coach. This is how we do it at Block Fitness. We've got two different formats, and we're going to walk through those today. First and most important thing is, why does it matter? Ultimately, prevent injury. That's why cues are one of the most important, powerful things as a coach. Two, it's to unlock hidden performance, to really be able to drive a client or athlete to their fullest potential, and to build trust and confidence, not only in you, but also in themselves. And so it's kind of a two-way street. And a quote I like is, it's not just what you say, it's how, when, and why. And that's what ultimately makes a very skilled, talented coach. And this is why we do the cues and style that we do, because it will build you into that as long as you follow. So cueing is how you create behavior change in real time. Another phrase that I absolutely love. And ultimately, if demoing is teaching, cueing is coaching. That's kind of how I look at it. Like, we're teachers and coaches at the same time. And so it's emphasizing that mastery of cueing that builds member trust faster than anything else, right? All right, so there's two types. So at least the way we see it as in the moment cues. So you can see here, coach cueing an athlete in the moment. These are reactive. You're reacting to the moment. They're quick, they're short, they're punchy, and we're going to go over how to do that. And then there's the after the moment type adjustments. These are cues, but they're more reflective in nature. It's a conversation, it's forward coaching, if you will. And both are extremely valuable. And you can see it happen on a court where you're yelling something out to an athlete with quick precision. You're calling out a play. That is a form of in the moment cueing, the action that you want to elicit next. But then you pull them over to the bench during a timeout, and you guys have a conversation about what things are, how things are going, and where they're going to go. All right, let's go over those in the moment cues. So these happen during the set, while the athlete, while the client, while the member is going through repetitions of a movement. And the goal is just immediate improvement. And it could be to continue improvement or continue doing what the client is doing. It could be positive reinforcement. This is just one example. But ultimately, it is either to make an immediate change, a continual drive, a motivational phrase, but it is something that is short, simple, 2 words or less. And it is very clear. So I want you to ask yourself, like, why do you think 2 words are more effective than 10 words for correcting someone? Pretty simple. It gets buy-in and shows your expertise really quickly. All right. So let's go over our process for that. We use a 4-step in the moment cueing framework that we have found to be extremely valuable, quick, and effective for when you have somebody that may have a lot of weight on their body. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to say the client's name. So if you're in the middle of a party, music is playing, everyone's talking, glasses are clinking, it's loud, there's so much that is happening, it is stimulus overload, and you hear your name, it cuts through all the noise. And it's because your name is the most important thing to you. It's how you are identified. And so it is what is going to ultimately make sure that you stay alive, on track, acknowledged, valued, and it's your most important thing in the world. And so if you use a client's name, instead of just saying good job or there you go or giving a cue, it's going to first cut through all of the things that are going through their head. Imagine if you've got a very heavy barbell overhead, you're about to do this bench press here. You're thinking like the very few things you've kind of mastered: brace my lats, squeeze my glutes, like tuck elbows, whatever the case may be, whatever the things that are running through your head. And then all of a sudden, as you're going, your brain is like, oh my gosh, I got to do this. Oh my gosh, this is happening, because you're just trying to fight for your life. You can imagine like a really heavy barbell back squat. That's all you're doing, is you're fighting for your life with all of these different cues that are happening. And if I just say like, hey, do this, by the time you actually process what is being said, you've probably completed another rep, maybe 2, maybe you've even like not heard me and gone through the rest of the move. But if I say your name, it cuts through immediately. Second thing is, I'm going to give the verbal cue that I'm after. Again, it's going to be short, it's going to be punchy, and I'm going to repeat it 2 to 3 times with urgency. We're going to expand on that. It's a very critical piece. The third, sometimes I'm going to give a physical cue. And again, this is why I said sometimes, is if needed, and I'm going to have to have asked first. I don't want to come behind someone that's maybe doing a lat pull down and without having previous conversation with them or acknowledging them, just tap them in the lats and be like, squeeze lats. Well, that could trigger some things, right? And then I'm going to validate. I'm going to validate the progress that they're making with the cue that I'm giving. And it could be that's great, or that's progressing, or there you go, or drive, whatever it may be. And then I'm going to emphasize with tone and presence. That's probably the biggest thing. You can see like they've already locked eyes as they're getting ready to lift off that bar. So the tone and the presence has already been there. And I'm not going to ask them to change during an in the moment cue. I'm telling them what I am after with clarity. This is not a conversation. This is short, punchy direction, right? So what are some highly effective in the moment cues that we often like to use? These are not a guaranteed be all done all. These are sometimes beneficial, sometimes not. And it really depends on the situation, the client, and the relationship that you have. But chest up, right? 2 words. Spine in your squats is where that could be used. So say that spine is rounding heavily, right? Then we're going to use chest up. So what is this? Really, it's just body plus direction. So it's the body part, the chest, and the direction that I want. Super simple, right? So that's one style that works extremely well. Let's go into our second one, emphasis plus movement. So the emphasis is going to be on snap, right? Again, that's kind of the directional. And then hips, body. So same kind of thing. That's the movement, right? And so ultimately, this is a use for explosiveness. Snap hips, 2 words. Again, one of them is body, one of them is direction more than anything else. Breathing could be hard exhale. So it's to help create some core tension. Great use there. For alignment, maybe it's head back. So again, this ties back into head, the body part, back, the direction. So it's really that first one accompanies almost all of these. And what's that use? Now we're just trying to get neck to stack. But I say, hey, stack your neck. Like, no one's going to really know what that means, right? Hey, I want core tension. What? Okay. Like, am I going to suck in my abs? Like, what am I going to do here? So we want to bring clarity with the words that we're using that make it simple in the moment to process, you know? So soft joints is another different ones, or we can go soft knees, soft elbows, right? Corkscrew the floor. Now this would probably have to have some conversation before, or bend the bar, pop the hips. These ones, you've had a little bit of conversation to understand what bend the bar might mean. But you're ultimately explaining in a very short amount of time what you want the client to do in a way that is going to be more visually stimulating for that client, right? So here's what I challenge you to do. Role play. And if you have a group of 3, it's kind of the ideal sweet spot. You have one person doing the move, one person practicing the cues, and then the other person taking notes and giving that feedback. And then you kind of rotate on through. And so what you're going to do is you're going to pick a movement pattern. I recommend probably going with about 3 of these, 1 to 2 reps kind of per each one if possible. You're going to perform a squat. And while you do that, the one person who is doing the squat is possibly going to, cave the knees a little much, or rotate the body, or cave the chest. And then you're going to give that response back to them, like chest up, right? And then if you need to, you can give that touch point to happen from within that spot. So I want you to play with those different things, practice from there. But remember, you're just going to be like, Jan, and then verbal cue, chest up, chest up, chest up. And that's the verbal urgency piece that I'm going to want to go over. And then you're going to give them that physical cue if needed. And then you're going to validate. There you go. That's it. That's what we want. So if we were doing this and we're looking at a bench press here, right? We have Coach Kirill. We have client here, and Jacqueline. And Jacqueline is doing a bench press. And let's say her butt is coming way off the bench, right? She's just hyperextending through the back beyond belief and going there. And I'm coming from across the room. Well, I'm going to say her name, Jacqueline. Tension is grabbed. Immediately cuts through all the noise that's going through her head as she's fighting for her life. My verbal cue, butt down. So body part, direction, butt down. And I'm going to say it 2 to 3 times with urgency because the brain is trying so hard to process what is being said. If I am saying it with an escalating emphasis, as I continue to repeat, I escalate in importance and I bring more clarity to what I'm saying, it's going to continue to drill into the head to the point where the body actually responds faster than if I just said it once or said it with a flat sense of urgency. So I'm going to say butt down, butt down, butt down. And then by that 3rd time, butt's already down and we probably haven't even finished 1 rep. As opposed to me saying, hey, Jacqueline, drive your butt down. Drive your butt down. Hey, Jacqueline, drive your butt down. Then it would probably be 2 reps in. So just that little bit of urgency and escalation in tone makes this happen. Now, I'm not going to do any physical cues there, right? And then I'm going to validate, yep, stick it, you got it. And I'm continuing to plant the seed, and drive that urgency by supporting and validating. Those are my in the moment cues. All right, let's go to after the moment conversations. These are the adjustments you happen after, right? Me and a NFL athlete had the pleasure of coaching for a week. And, we had to really take some time to build some bonds and connection. He was very guarded. He'd been through like a million different coaches and a million different trainers. And even the director of the program was like, I don't know how you broke through to him. He doesn't trust anyone. And he still messages me on Instagram here, and we're a year later asking me stuff because he just doesn't have trust with a lot of the people. And I don't blame him. He's been cut and transferred to a lot of teams, but he's been in the NFL for 6 years and still doing his thing. So anyways, so this happens post set. So it's not happening during a set. These are reflective conversations, as I kind of mentioned, and they help shape the next set. And I want that to be what you remember and take away from this. This is to elicit positive change for the next set. And the next set may be a week from now, right? So this is coaching, not correcting, if that makes sense. This is connect, then ask smart questions, then make the client feel like they're making progress, and then identify breakdowns. This is not a beat down. This is not a here's what you did wrong. This is not a breakdown play by play. This is not film reduction. This is coaching based on where the athlete is at. So we follow a 3-step after the movement adjustment framework. So after we observe the set, and that's the most critical piece, then we talk to the client. We talk to the athlete, right? It simply help reflect which rep felt best. That's probably my favorite one. A lot of times, a lot of coaches, hey, how'd that feel? Right? And how'd that feel is a great one as well. Which rep felt the best? For me, just allows the client or the athlete to start to get back in tune with their body through the movement, because so often they're just going through the motions and brain is somewhere else. And I don't blame them. But which rep felt the best makes them actually focus and bring awareness into the training space. So I challenge you to use that one, right? Then I continue on. What made it feel great? What was best about it? What made it feel good? And these are like very casual, tossing out. I want their opinion. So maybe it was I'd say rep 3 to 4. Yeah, sweet. What was it about rep 3 to 4 that you think made that stick? Because now the athlete is finding within their own body how it worked and why it worked, and so why they can actually make it better and going forward. This is how then when you want to make change and you want them to go heavier, or you want them to do more, you're like, cool, we're going to do more just like that one. Then if we nail that, we could definitely go up, don't you think? This is where I have power, because they've already made it a conscious choice, because they've already identified it in their body, and you've now given them the autonomy to go up, right? So now I can actually use that power. Step 3 is then you guide them. You just literally guide them. Let's try blank. Or we're going to do blank so that. All right? So maybe it's like rep 3. Here's what's great. As we look at this framework, if you didn't see any of their reps because you were busy working with another client, you're coming from across the room, whatever the case may be, but you just simply ask, hey, cool, saw that. Which rep felt the best? Rep 3 and 4? Yeah, nice. What about those? Now they feel like you were watching your body in, even if you weren't able to be, right? How'd that feel? It felt pretty good. Cool. Talk to me about it. What do we want to do with it? We want to stay the same? Do we want to go up? Yeah. Awesome. What do you think we want to target next set, since we're not going to go up? These are, I'm going to let them fill in, but then I'm going to constantly, as a coach, continue to coach after the movement is done. So now I'm giving them the power. So you can repeat what you said plus what I saw equals what we'll try. So let's try this. We're going to try this so that we can elicit this response. So you can start to combine these two things. And this is where you build trust through clarity and collaboration. So a script. Good job, Jan. I don't know why I named Jack Jan in this circumstance, but I like it. So Jack's new name is Jan. Good job, Jan. I saw fatigue in those last 2 reps too. So this would be after, she was like, well, rep 3 and 4 felt pretty good, but then the rest I got pretty fatigued. So now I just agree. So remember, it's what she said, what you said, the client, and what I saw. And we'll do it. Let's try. So good job, Jan. I saw fatigue in those last 2 reps too. Some ones were where you said form, same ones where you said form was breaking down. Like that's kind of how I would phrase that, right? So let's try. Let's try. Pausing at the top of each rep, taking a full inhale before the next, like you did on rep 5. I validate based on the one that we saw that was like the best, so that we stay crisp. Let's try so that. Let's try so that. Let's try Going up, since we know you said it all felt really good, and you probably had 3-4 reps left in the tank, so that we can actually get to that intensity level for the results that you're after. I'm going to stay here and spot you though. Let's try going up so that, and I give him why, because, right? So now's your chance. Go role play. Pause this video if you need to, do it in a mirror, record it, and have AI actually respond back to you back and forth that way as well. If you got 3 people, that's kind of an ideal one because one can evaluate and give feedback. But basically perform a few reps of a movement pattern, have one coach or a person, perform those things. And then you're going to give them a conversation afterwards and start with those questions. Like actually start to ask like, hey, which rep felt the best? How'd that feel? Where are we feeling that? Those are your kind of 3 go-tos. Where and what, right? So some pro coaching tips. Cue early. Do not hesitate. Cue early. Do not hesitate. Fewer words equals better. Guaranteed. And this is one of my favorite challenges to work on constantly. But over-explaining, rush tone, these 2 things that I love to have and do, as you probably witnessed from these last few videos, but they do not help a client succeed within this context. So avoid fake praise is another really big one. And I think this is completely flies under the radar. But as a coach, we're there to celebrate, to motivate, to inspire. And so a lot of times it turns into good job. Yeah, great, great, great. But is it a good job? And I believe that if you are fake praising, giving false pretense to the ability that they are executing, then you are actually being not just a poor coach, but possibly an asshole in the grander things of things. Because if that person was to then go to another facility, another gym, another place, say it's an elite level athlete, and they get endorsed by another spot, and they go over there and they're like, "Whoa, who taught you how to squat? Your form is horrible." Maybe they're just rude and they just attack them right off the bat. And they're like, "Blanc told me my form is great. That coach told me I was doing a great job." And now you just had them lose all faith in the personal training, coaching world and system. Just like my athlete that I had earlier on the screen that I had to work really hard to get buy-in and build some trust with so that we could actually make some moves. Because given false advice, told good when wasn't, told bad, just not given real, genuine conversation. So instead of giving fake praise, if there is progress, I'm like, yep, we're making progress. There we go. I use positive inflection within my tone, within my voice. Yeah, there we go. That's coming along. That works just as good. And it's truthful. And it's not going to cause any issues. And then afterwards, when we have those after the moment conversations, yeah, so definitely saw some improvement in your form there. We got some things I definitely want to work on. We're going to keep progressing as time goes and just dial this in. We're just going to try and get better and better week over week. So I'll give you some more tips and cues that I want us to focus on later. But for now, stick to right here. This is exactly where you want to be. That comes across as I'm leaving feeling positive, but I also have a direction that I want to go. So I'm actually even more bought into this coach because they're looking out for me long term, and they didn't fake praise me, right? They didn't sell me the job and then not give me the salary. So I'm going to validate when correct. I'm going to ask always before giving any kind of physical touch, or unless I'm grabbing a bar for safety. And I just want you to remember that your cue is your brand. It's how you connect, relate, and communicate. That's what truly matters within this. Now it's just going to come down, as always, reps for skill mastery. So practice both your in the moment and your after the movement with 3 to 5 movements weekly. So whether it's in the gym space, whether it is with a friend or another coach, or whether it's just with AI online, but use live reps. Follow this framework exactly and ask any senior coaches for any kind of assistance as possible. Again, as always, a few other resources. These just go through the simple cues. Feel free to click on all these as you're going, right? Or access them via YouTube. They're easy for you to find based on our site. And here's a longer after the movement example between myself and Kirill. All right. As always, thank you. Appreciate it. Hope it was helpful.